alaikum and a very warm welcome to Visionary Pulse with me, your host Farzana Mayet, a segment that focuses on chatting to game changers and change makers. And tonight is certainly no different as we have two such game changers and change makers featured on Visionary Pulse. We say a very good evening and a warm welcome to Mpho Mogotsi, who is a visionary African leader, global business trailblazer, and transformational voice for women's empowerment. Crowned Mrs. Universe Africa in 2022, she represented the continent on the global stage at the 45th Mrs. Universe International Pageant, where she earned the prestigious title of Mrs. Top Africa among 100 exceptional women worldwide. She is an award-winning entrepreneur, life coach, author, philanthropist, and gender-based violence activist as well, whose work bridges purpose, business, and social impact. Mpho also serves as the co-chair of the BRICS Women Business Alliance, SA Creative Industries, co-lead of Wakonka Sports, Arts and Culture, and the president of the Global South African Business Forum, platforms through which she actively shapes inclusive economic growth and global collaboration. We say a very good evening and a warm welcome as well to Tshepo, who is celebrating 20 years as a designer in South Africa. Two incredible powerhouse women featured this evening on Visionary Pulse. Mpho, wow, what a vast portfolio that is. Welcome so much to Visionary Pulse, and tell me, where do you get the time, Mpho? You know, to fit everything in, where do you get the time?
It's important to be a woman that has a purpose. When you have a purpose, it's important that you understand how to actually take all facets of yourself and actually put them into good use. So it's not so much about how much time do I actually have, it's how do I get to do what I do, because it's fueled by passion, it's fueled by purpose, and also aligning with the God vision that I'm here to fulfill on this planet. So to answer your question in short, purpose, purpose, purpose.
Absolutely,
that's basically
well
it.
said, Mpho. So you've moved from corporate banking into global leadership, right, and entrepreneurship as well. What was the defining moment that shifted your path toward purpose-driven leadership?
Purpose-driven leadership for me is very important as a woman in South Africa specifically, because we are shaping the culture, we're shaping how we actually define Africa. So in order for us to be in a position where we start talking about the vision of where we're going, it's important that we also take into cognizance that for many, many years, we were being defined by who we are from other people. So for example, the United States or anywhere else in the world, they will actually be saying, oh, Africa is such a dark continent, Africa is not civilized. We as conscious leaders, we need to be able to tell our own story. We need to be able to narrate the stories that we want to put out there in the world. So that for me is what I consider leadership. More importantly, conscious leadership that actually has purpose into it.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
So Mpho, as president of the Global South African International Business Forum, how do you envision Africa shaping the future of global trade and collaboration? Because I think, as I always tend to say, you will know this, competition is dead, collaboration is key. So how do you tend to?
It's very challenging, especially in the days that we're living in right now with the geopolitical landscape that we find ourselves in. But it still goes back to what I said earlier, to say that Africans need to own the narrative that we put out into the world. We need to be in the middle of, championing our own evolution. Absolutely. By so doing, people like Sober, Tshepo, who is the CEO of Sober, is here to also tell her story, narrate that from a fashion point of view. Now, what I really like about the creative industry specifically, creatives do not necessarily have to conform to any norm. By virtue of just being a creative, it means that you are able to use your talent, your God-given talent as a musician, as a filmmaker, as a fashion designer, yes, like Tshepo right here, to be able to narrate and lead and change how we are perceived in South Africa or in Africa in that sense. What I actually want to actually do as well is to position the fact that we've got Tshepo right here, who's also going to be talking about what she's doing in the 20 years that she's actually celebrating as a South African designer. Yeah.
Tshepo, I think our viewers would love to hear about your journey as well.
Okay, so it's 20 years. Very exciting for us. For me, it's more than just 20 years. It's a legacy. It's an opportunity for our brand to finally tell a better narrative of our journey as a brand. We've evolved a lot over the years. It started first as very experimental, we experimented with everything, silhouettes, colors, everything. And now I think we've come full circle where we know who we are. Soba as a brand, as the name, it speaks of a journey of identifying yourself. I'm sorry, that's the best way I could describe the feeling when I started this brand, the need. Because in the beginning, it started with, experimenting, trying to create things that make you stand out. And I'm loving the fact that a lot of consumers, our customers today, are choosing to buy into authenticity and not trend-driven things. And that's who we are as a brand.
It's all about being authentic, right?
Yes. And to tell our story, I think it's the first time in the 20 years where, where I can tell paint a better picture. What I love about fashion is that it's so malleable. It's a form of expression, and anybody can do it. Everybody can be a designer, right?
I've got to ask you, for 20 years, how did you last?
A lot of resilience, a lot of growing up I had to do. Because in the beginning, I would like to say I was an artist, I was a creative, I was a designer. And now, slowly, it started growing into me being an employer.
Okay.
And that was a whole different ball game.
I was just going to say, a total different ball game, new responsibilities, a total new function, new definition of everything that you knew before.
Yeah. But for me, that journey in particular made me realize that, my degree alone is not enough to run this kind of business. So I had to learn a lot. I had to grow myself in ways that I didn't even think that were necessary. But now I know that at the end of the day, to hold on to the very fact that this business would not exist without my creativity, my vision, that is something that kept me motivated. Even during the staff meetings and the hirings and the firings, I still had to remind myself that, wait, you're still a designer, you're an artist.
So you never forgot your real identity, and you stuck to it, and you were like a horse with blinkers, just focused on your goal, which is great, Tshepo. And I think a lot of our viewers that, want to go into the fashion designing industry, with all my guests, many people, Mpho, I think you will also agree with us, they see the glitz, the glam, they think it's so easy, it's absolutely simple, oh my God, you've got it all.
Yeah,
not thinking the blood, sweat and tears that goes into all the hard work that's put into your passion.
Yes, that's true.
Absolutely. And you nailed it by saying that, because AFW would not be existing. AFW is short for African Fashion Week. And Tshepo is going to be showcasing, she is going to be celebrating her 20 years in the industry by showcasing
at the
AFW.
I'm so excited.
Exactly. And the platform exists because people like her. We need to be able to give a platform to deserving artists and fashion designers like Tshepo to be able to tell their story, the narrative, and actually take Africa from, the whole thing of we are not necessarily capable to showcasing in the world that we definitely have the capacity and that we can showcase amazing designs. I mean, I'm looking at this mannequin right now, and how amazing is this dress?
Tshepo, is this your latest design?
It is our latest. It'll be in stores sooner than you think.
Amazing.
Yeah. And we produce everything on site, so I know when I say it's going to be out,
it's going to be out. So when a deadline is, when you say that an outfit or a design is going to be at stores at a specific date, you stick to that, right?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Because we run a production plant. We produce everything on site. We don't CMT or use external suppliers or anything like that. So I have my finger right on the pulse, right there on the button. When I say go,
so
go.
such incredible designs such as this and many others are going to be showcased at the African Fashion.
Yes, it's going to be a whole 40 looks. It's the first time I've
40?
done 40
Wow.
looks. That's a lot of girls.
So like it's a whole wardrobe for a lady.
It's
you
a
know?
whole wardrobe, but also it's like an archive of everything that we have created since the beginning of time. I find that it's so
That's
funny.
incredible.
Most clients, I get surprised. I can't even say it's a client. It's a best friend of mine. I've known her since grade 1, and she only discovered, I think, 10 years ago that she's been buying my brand, and she didn't know. And she had to go in her wardrobe and actually look and see the labels. And say, my friend, I've been buying your clothes. So we do realize that in the beginning, in the early stages, we were still coming out. We were
Right.
still come and go, touch
It's
and
with
go,
every
you
business,
know?
right? Yeah.
So we want to celebrate those styles, because I get people who come to the studio today and they're like, can't I have this? I'm like, that's like 2010. No, that's old, friend. That's old. And they want it. So we want to pay homage to that, you know, like an ode to the body of work that we have done. We're putting a stamp on it as authority in what we
That's
do.
mine.
Yes. We are going to put a stamp on it. So whoever think they didn't know us, they will realize that they know us. And those who didn't know us will want to know us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. So Mpho, what does transformational leadership mean to you in today's rapidly evolving world?
It means that, you know, to be transformative, you need to be able to also be in the know of what is to come. So, for example, now we're living in the arena of, let's say, AI. How do we take AI and combine that with fashion? How do we combine it in every, you know, workspace that we are in? Because you don't want to be left behind just because you couldn't evolve, just because you decided that, you know, what's worked previously 20 years ago, to Tshepo's saying, is going to work again today.
Yeah.
So for you to be able to stay in the game and for your business to grow from leaps and bounds, you need to be able to understand what the future looks like. And it speaks to the theme for the AFW fashion show that fashion week that we are going to be doing right now, which is Afrofuture. Why would we
Afrofuture, I
actually,
love that.
exactly, so why would we be so fixated into the future? Because we understand that if we are not taking ourselves seriously,
Yes.
we're not taking this country seriously and the continent seriously, we are going to be left behind, and we wouldn't be in a position to tell a different story from what has previously been told about us. We know that we've actually overcome as a country, as a continent, a lot, right? But also at the same time, we are the youngest people in the world. We have the most youth in this continent, and what does that say to us? The future is bright. If we can champion, if we can fuel the future, which is our youth, we will be in a position where 20 years from now, 50 years from now, we tell a different story about Africa.
Totally, I agree with you. But Mpho, how can women now step into their power despite societal, cultural, or economic barriers?
Women have been sidelined for the longest time, and I chose to become a champion and a voice for women specifically for that cause, because we cannot be in a position where discussions about women happen without women in them. We
Yeah,
need to be in the
I love
forefront
that,
of
yes.
making sure that we tell our own story, that we are able to say to, for example, President Cyril Ramaphosa, have a sit down with him and say, we as women, these are the changes that we would like to see. Now, you will remember not so long ago, last year when we were hosting the G20, there was a big, movement about getting GBV recognized as a pandemic.
Yes.
If women did not stand together, if women did not choose to push that agenda, chances are we'd be sitting here today and that movement would
Would
not
have
have
never happened,
actually,
absolutely.
exactly. So it also just shows that when women work together, and a lot of times, and I've seen it in the past, where we actually worked against each other. But I think slowly and surely we're starting to realize that it's in our best interest to, I always say, a candle loses nothing of its own by lighting up another candle.
Absolutely,
So
Mpho. I agree
you
with
being
you.
here, championing this visionary pulse and inviting us and talking about what we are doing in our own circles, it will inspire another woman who's sitting there, perhaps maybe she's not even having a good day, and she'll be listening to what Tshepo has just mentioned about being here for 20 years, doing exactly the same thing that she loves on a daily basis. And that will spark an interesting idea in her mind to say, how do I become like a Tshepo?
Exactly, and that's what Visionary Pulse is all about, championing change and championing that awakening in other women or anyone watching to say, look, if that person can do it, so can I.
Exactly.
What is stopping me or what is holding me back? So tell me about the African Fashion Week. Let's talk a bit more about that.
It's so interesting that we're talking about it and we've already like
I
touched
can't wait
on
to
it.
talk more.
So perhaps Tshepo will actually talk more about it.
Tshepo, I think you lead the way, because we're
Yes,
so
please lead the
excited to
way.
talk about
What
it.
does that mean for you?
Well, I mean, it's not the first time I'm showcasing. I've been showcasing in other fashion weeks in and around the country. I've done international showcases before, but I'm going to be doing it for the first time with African Fashion Week. I'm so excited because it's a brand new platform for me. And what I like about this platform is, as much as I've showcased in overseas countries abroad, it's always nice to be home. You know, I always believe before you go and conquer Paris and conquer London, start at home. I want to be known here throughout the entire continent. So hence that is so exciting for me because it's African Fashion Week. That's the whole continent, not just South African Fashion Week. So that is an interesting element. And obviously because we're getting this incredible showcase in this incredible venue, it's all fresh for me. And I don't know, it always feels like the first time for me. I get butterflies. I'm like always nervous before showcasing, but I know it's a good thing, especially combined with powerhouses like her. I know she's a perfectionist. She's going to get it right. So she's going to allow me to do my part, which is just...
So each of you has a role to play. Like before you said, you know, when
Absolutely.
women come together, magic happens. And it so often happens that women are each other's biggest enemies. I don't know why. I really don't know why, because by us championing each other's strengths only makes us shine much more brighter, because you cannot do the one thing that I can do. I cannot do what you can do, but together we can do so much more.
The spirit of collaboration, very important for us going forward, especially talking about the advancements of AI and everything.
Exactly. And also just to add on what Tshepo mentioned, African Fashion Week was actually born of the idea to say women, especially women, and it just turns out to be, you know, there is about 13 women that will be showcasing as
13,
designers,
that's amazing.
and only one male that will actually be on the same scale. Now I reflect back because last year we did our very first big African Fashion Week.
Right.
And even in that sense, we took out an application to everyone. So meaning males and females could actually apply to showcase
so
on
it was
our...
universal, right?
Exactly. And guess what? 8 women showed up. They were ready for stage and they decided we want to be the ones that are showcasing in African Fashion Week. So last year we ended up having a whole collection of women that are showcasing. And out of that, one woman won a fully paid competition to go and showcase in Paris. So we're actually working with her as well, New Romantics. So she was going to be showcasing on the 3rd until the 4th of October in Paris. And it's important for what Tshepo mentioned to say that, you know, it's nice for you to be recognized at home. With her, she had been in South Africa also like Tshepo 20 years, but she had never showcased. So this will be her first time showcasing on an international scale. So African Fashion Week is unique to women's needs, I would say, because like I said, a lot of the fashion designers that are actually showcasing are women. And we're looking at each specific designer and saying, how do we help you? It's not from this is what we offer. It's
Right.
about how do we collaborate? How do we help one another to grow? Because the more you grow, the more we are growing. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that African Fashion Week exists without the designers. We are here to serve them. They are here to
Absolutely.
tell us and say, this is what we need from a African Fashion Week point of view, and we are
Right.
able to then see how do we incorporate your needs to suit what we are doing in African Fashion Week. And I think that is a very unique element for African Fashion
Absolutely.
Week. In addition to that as well, there's a whole lot of emerging fashion designers that have been sidelined for many years. And
Okay.
that for me was not sitting okay. Like I said, I'm very much of a purpose-driven woman. Now I'm seeing all these amazing fashion designers.
talent is just
They
not
are
getting
just,
recognized.
their talents is just literally just being wasted. And that's why Mpho, short for, which is short in short, it's MYP, was actually born. Because with the MYP program, we are going to be taking those emerging fashion designers, putting them through a enterprise development of about 9 months.
Wow.
And where
Okay.
we're going to be helping them with business skills, how to sell yourself, and more importantly, get them export ready. You mentioned earlier that, I am actually the chairperson of the BRICS WBA Creative Industries. Now, I've got these amazing countries that I'm working with, the likes of Brazil, the likes of Russia, right? And they are hungry for South African and African designers to be coming to their country and showcasing. Now, this program will actually help them, especially the emerging fashion brands, to start out with, fairly new industries like your bricks, to get into, that kind of modality of understanding. Why is it important for me to also showcase outside of my country? So African Fashion Week is a holistic ball game where we are going to be a game changer for a lot of things that the industry needs.
And that is absolutely incredible, Mpho. And how long, I have to ask, how long did this take to put together? The
Oh,
entire
my
concept
word.
of the African Fashion Week. Everyone sees, again, I'm going to reiterate, the glitz, the glam, the amount of, lights, camera, action, but nobody sees the hard work.
Absolutely.
Well, I do. I need to know. How long does something like this take to put together?
I'll be very honest with you. We did our showcase, like I said, in December, the 16th of December last year. Literally a week later, we were already sitting down and thinking, okay, in May, we're doing another showcase. How do we do this? So I never even put, anything down to say, let me relax and I'll actually have a look at this
Right.
later. Because again, when you are driven by purpose, when you are fueled by passion, it doesn't feel like work.
Yes.
It actually feels like something that you wake up to and say, I would like to actually look at this. So even in between the Christmas lunches, in between the, going to church and getting everything ready, I was already thinking about this showcase. And that's why even Tshepo mentioned to say that, we are such a perfectionist team. We want to make sure that, everything works out for good. Because if you don't put
Yes.
in the work, it's going to show up on the day that something
Yes.
here did not go well. And my team, as much as we are a very intimate group of women, I mean, these are really powerhouses, and I am so grateful to have them on my side, because each one of them, they exactly exude what I call a powerful woman in her
So
element.
they know exactly what is the requirements from Mpho, what I need to do for my function to make sure that this is 500% on par with what she wants. But I think
Incredible.
that helps a lot, Mpho, to be able to delegate,
Yes.
and have a strong support structure.
Yes.
Tshepo, you will agree as well in the designing fraternity as well. If you don't
Yes.
have
The
the
structures in
structures
place.
in place and the proper people to be holding on side by side, the
Yes.
journey becomes a bit tough.
I couldn't have done this by myself. I mean, a lot of people, I still meet them today and they're like, oh, you're a designer. They actually think I sit in front of a machine and I stitch every dress. But I will say that that is impossible. I think the last time I touched a sewing machine was over 10 years ago.
Oh my word, okay.
Well, we're at that capacity now, and having to work with people let them teach me something, and I learn something, and I learn HR sometimes the hard way, you know, like. But that has been my growth, and like I said, if you don't have those structures into place, I've seen a lot of designers, like Mpho said, that are trying to come up, and it always starts off small, and when it gets to a level where it's beyond you. My mind was blown at some stage, thinking that we produce 30 to 40 garments a week.
Wow.
So
Incredible.
there's no way I could have done that by myself. So also I'm very much into grooming new talent. I've been doing it for several amounts of years. I've done work integrated learning with TUT students. I've sat on their board of advisory for the Faculty of Fashion. I'm currently training new interns. And like you said, now there's this thing called AI. I don't want to be a dinosaur. So please, I'm bringing in these newbies and they are teaching me things, because also I want longevity. When you, like she said, if you are purpose driven, you don't want something that's going to die when you die.
No.
It's a legacy.
The legacy needs to continue, right?
We are a legacy brand, and this is what the show is going to be about, showing the ladies what we've been doing all this time. Because over time, I've also realized that we're not just selling clothes, we're selling confidence. We're selling esteem.
I love that.
I've seen customers in stores when I sneak in and they don't know I'm the designer. And you watch them in this dress and their poise changes and they strut differently. So I realized that we're serving a bigger purpose. Really, we're giving something.
Dressing someone, you're instilling that confidence when they put the garment on.
When the moment you put it on, you can see them prancing around. They can't believe it. It's like they have a surgery. And we love that element about our clothing. That's why I'm saying this 20 years has been
an incredible journey.
Incredible journey.
So Mpho, before we wrap up, I would like to ask you to the African Fashion Week. It runs the entire weekend. From what date to what date?
So African Fashion Week will commence from the 7th of May up until the 9th of May. The 2 days, 7th and 8th, we are going to start off 2 o'clock with the forum, the Global South International Business Forum.
That's the Wednesday and Thursday, right?
That's the Thursday and Friday.
Weekend.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the Thursday and Friday. Yes, correct. So we're going to start at 2 o'clock with the forum. We have incredible lineup of speakers. Please come and listen in, because the creative industry is about to take a completely different shift, because we need to be able to champion our stories and champion where we're going.
Absolutely.
And immediately after that, from about 5 o'clock up until 9 o'clock, that's when the showcases will be taking place from Thursday and Friday. The unique factor in this is that on the Saturday at 6 o'clock up until 10 o'clock, that's where we're going to have the gala dinner. And at the gala dinner, we are going to have, again, Tshepo showcasing another collection on the same night.
Brilliant.
And more importantly, she is going to be a recipient of an amazing award for being 20 years in the industry. So you don't want to miss this. Tickets are selling very fast on Ticket Pro, so please go on to Ticket Pro and get yourself a ticket. We are selling tickets for different showcases at 350 rands. However, we also have the 1-day pass, the 2-day pass, as well as the gala dinner tickets if you would like to purchase them from the website.
That is absolutely brilliant. I want to wish you ladies all the very best.
Thank you.
And hope you grow from strength to strength. Thank you so much for joining me on Visionary Pulse. It has been a privilege and an honor having you here.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
so
for inviting
much.
us.
So that brings us to the conclusion of another wonderful segment of Visionary Pulse with me, your host, Farzana Mayet. Join me again next week as I chat to you.